They watched us for centuries, cataloged our culture, laughed at our chaos, and then one day, the galaxy needed us. This is a first-person declassified report from a Galactic Observer, a witness to the moment the universe realized humans weren't just strange, we were necessary. This species is a walking paradox. They've figured out theoretical physics, but they also spend their free time mimicking the absolute dumbest survival scenarios you can imagine. We have thousands of hours of this stuff. Humans base jumping, an activity with a mortality rate that would make a klaxon warrior blush. Humans engaging in bull riding, where they strap themselves to a ton of angry muscle for an 8-second thrill. Humans trying to pet, and in some cases domesticate, apex predators that could swallow them whole. We decided they were too illogical, too chaotic, and frankly, too much of a headache to integrate safely. Their planet, Earth, was flagged, filed, and forgotten. A cosmic cul-de-sac of charming but terminal foolishness. And that's where we made our mistake, a big one. We failed to consider one critical variable. Their stupidity wasn't a bug, it was a feature, and it was the only thing that could save us all. And believe me, we had a mountain of evidence. The quarantine catalog was the most comprehensive study of a pre-contact species ever. And, as its primary author, I can attest, it was a masterpiece of irrationality. Exhibit A, willfully hurting themselves for flavor. We watched a human eat something called a ghost pepper. The readings were alarming. Heart rate through the roof, sweating, crying, audible groans of pain. And what did the human say after this ordeal? Our translators picked it up perfectly. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. Let's have another. They chose to experience intense pain, not for survival or some ritual, but for a fleeting sensation. I remember thinking, why would anyone choose pain? But the answer wasn't survival. It was experience. And suddenly, that was scarier than any weapon. No other species in the concordance does anything remotely like it. Exhibit B, the baffling glorification of pointless risk. We analyzed countless hours of extreme sports. Take ice climbing. It's like regular climbing, but you add the completely unnecessary variable of a frozen, unstable surface. Or cave diving. They swim into dark, underwater tunnels where one tiny mistake means certain death. A motto for one of their sports, park.
Then came the ice bucket challenge, where they dumped freezing water on themselves to raise awareness for a disease, a noble cause, I suppose, achieved through self-inflicted thermal shock. But the absolute worst was the duct tape challenge, where humans wrapped themselves in industrial adhesive and tried to escape, often while suspended, for views. Exhibit D. Just why? The final straw for me was watching a single human. He spent 2 hours meticulously caring for a small house plant, getting its soil and sun exposure just right. Immediately after, the same human ate a meal of processed paste, refined sugars, and chemical preservatives, all while complaining about how tired he was. He nurtured a plant with more care than his own body. It was this stunning, casual hypocrisy that made me sign the final quarantine order. They were fascinating, but a self-destructing dead end. We thought unpredictability was a flaw, but maybe it's a kind of courage, the kind only chaos can give. I was just about to file that last report when the alarms went off.
Not the usual shrill siren, but a deep hum that vibrated through the station's hull. It was the sound of a logic cascade failure, a sound that shouldn't be possible. High Chancellor Zorax appeared on every screen. His face, normally a mask of serene composure, was tight. "Attention Concordance members," he said, his voice flat. "We are under attack." The attacker wasn't a fleet or a weapon. It was a presence, an entity we'd come to call the Axiom. It was a non-physical consciousness that hopped between dimensions and fed on order. It consumed logic. The more advanced and logical a civilization was, the easier it was to devour. First, the Axiom hit the Tholian system. The Tholians are a race of crystalline beings whose entire society runs like a perfect equation. The Axiom calculated their defensive patterns before they were even launched. It knew their strategies before they were even thought of. And just like that, the Tholians ceased to exist. They were solved. The Concordance, the pinnacle of galactic reason, was next. We were playing chess against an opponent who knew our every move, because we always made the right move. And for the Axiom, logic wasn't a defense, it was dinner. We were in a war we couldn't win. To fight was to be understood, and to be understood was to be devoured. The Concordance doesn't do desperation. But let me tell you, we were desperate. Our greatest minds, our most powerful fleets, our logical traditions, all useless. We were an open book to a predator that ate sentences. It was a junior archivist, a young Grisk with trembling hands, who brought it up. "High Chancellor," he stammered. "File 8675B, the species, human." You could hear the confusion. They operate on of whim, spite, and something called boredom. Our models could never predict them. They are a paradox. It was an insane idea, born from total failure. We opened a channel to the quarantined planet. We explained everything to a hastily assembled council of their leaders. We showed them the data on the Axiom, the fall of the Tholians, the cold, hard logic of our own impending doom. After a long silence, a human in a bright necktie leaned into his microphone. "So," he said, "you're telling me this big space brain is beating you because you're all super predictable?" High Chancellor Zorax nodded grimly. "That is a crude but accurate summary." The human grinned. "Hold my beer." In that moment, I didn't see stupidity. I saw something else. A spark. A refusal to play by the rules even when the stakes were the universe itself. Our translators had no idea what that meant, but the sentiment was clear. He turned to his team. "Okay, people, we're going to fight a logic monster by out-stupiding it. I want every meme, every cat video, every clip of a guy getting hit with a football. I want the sound of a fork scraping a plate layered over a broadcast of our politicians arguing about the shape of a table. We're going to blast every single piece of illogical, chaotic, and utterly pointless data we have on all frequencies right into that thing's face." The Concordance was horrified. This wasn't a strategy. It was an insult. It was, well, it was stupid. "That is the most absurd plan I have ever heard," Zorax stated, his voice flat with disbelief. The human just shrugged. "Yeah, that's the point." So against our better judgment, we did it. We turned our galactic broadcast arrays into weapons of mass nonsense. The cosmic silence was shattered by the Harlem Shake. Ancient hyperspace lanes now carried terabytes of videos titled "What the Fluff Challenge," showing dogs getting confused when their owners vanished behind blankets. The Axiom, which had been methodically tearing apart our defenses, just stopped. We could feel it on our psionic sensors. It was trying to find a pattern. It analyzed a billion-fold loop of a man screaming "Leroy Jenkins." It tried to calculate the tactical advantage of humans jumping out of moving cars to dance. It attempted to find a universal constant in the sound of someone attempting to sing opera with a mouthful of whipped cream. But there was no pattern. There was no logic. It was a cosmic denial of service attack. The axiom had feasted on elegant equations and beautiful quantum theories. Now it was being force-fed a data stream of a man trying to mail himself in a cardboard box, set to the music of a screaming goat. The psionic hum we all feared started to fluctuate. It was the sound of a god getting a migraine. The entity, it convulsed. And then, with a final silent scream that echoed in the minds of every telepath in the galaxy, it fled. It ran from the sheer, weaponized stupidity of the human race. My final entry into the catalog was a reclassification. Species. Human. Threat level. Recalibrated from minimal to existential wildcard. Primary trait. Not stupidity. Chaotic, non-linear problem solving. Their irrationality is their greatest weapon. I now serve as the lead xenohumanologist on Concordance Station Alpha. I've dedicated my life to understanding them. I've even tried to adopt some of their customs. Yesterday, my human colleague Dave convinced me to try a jalapeno popper. He said it would be fun. My mouth is still regenerating. I still don't see the logic. But for the first time, I'm starting to think logic isn't the point. If you enjoyed this declassification of humanity's greatest strategic asset, be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe for more galactic analysis and ring the notification bell. We need all the help we can get studying this beautifully, terrifyingly stupid species. And please, leave a comment explaining the appeal of carbonated beverages. Our science division is still completely baffled by the fizz.